It was a cold December morning when Adil stepped out of the tiny house he had grown up in. The streets were quiet, coated in mist. He wore a worn-out hoodie, torn at the elbow, and a backpack that had seen better days. Inside that bag was everything he owned: a notebook, a pen, and a dream that even he was afraid to speak out loud. He had just failed his university entrance exam. Again, it was a second attempt. His mother had cried, not from anger, but from helplessness. His father didn't say a word, just went back to fixing the old bicycle that never got repaired. They didn't blame him, but disappointment clung to the air like smoke. Heavy, silent, unspoken. That morning, as he walked aimlessly toward the bus stop, Adil saw a street vendor setting up his tea stall. The man looked up and said with a smile, "Tough morning?" Adil managed and nod. The vendor poured him a free cup. "Don't give up. No one remembers how many times you fall. They only remember when you rise." Adil stared at him, a stranger, just a tea seller. But somehow, the words cut to the fog in his mind. That evening, Adil didn't sleep. He sat with his notebook under the dim light of a single yellow bulb that flickered occasionally, like it too was unsure if it should keep going. He began writing down every fear he had. Fear of failing again. Fear of never becoming anything. Fear of becoming invisible. Then he turned the page and wrote something different. "If I don't believe in me, no one will." From that moment, something changed. He didn't wake up motivated the next day. He woke up determined. And there's a difference. Motivation fades. Determination builds. He went online and searched for stories of failure, of people who had fallen multiple times and still made it. He read about inventors, athletes, entrepreneurs, ordinary people who refused to quit. He decided something right then. If he was going to fail, he would fail trying harder than anyone else. The next day, he created a study plan. He began waking up at 4:30 a.m. No matter how tired, no matter how cold, he walked to the nearest public library every morning, sometimes reaching before the gates opened. He brought homemade chai in an old flask and sat at the same table every single day. The security guard started calling him the first boy. Weeks turned into months. His body got thinner, his eyes more tired, but his mind grew sharper. His doubts didn't vanish, but they got quieter. He didn't tell his friends he was trying again. He didn't want sympathy. He didn't want attention. He wanted results. Some days were harder than others. There were times he felt like screaming into a wall. There were nights when tears slipped quietly as he pretended to sleep so his mother wouldn't hear. But he never let those emotions stop his progress. He let them flow, and then he picked the book up again. One afternoon, the librarian saw him asleep at the desk, had buried in notes, drew on a book page. Instead of waking him, she brought a blanket and covered him gently. Some people believe in you, even when you don't ask them to. When the results came out, Adil didn't run to check. He walked slowly, breathing deep. His heart wasn't pounding. It was calm. And there, printed clearly, Adil Ahmed selected. He didn't shout. He didn't cry. He walked home, stepped into the house, and placed a letter on the table. His father read it. His mother dropped the pot she was holding. Then, finally, the tears came. This time, from joy. That night, he sat quietly outside under the stars. And for the first time in years, he smiled with no weight behind it. Just pure, quiet victory. But that was just the beginning. University wasn't easy. His classmates had better clothes, better laptops, better English. At first, Adil felt invisible. But slowly he started speaking up. Not loudly, but with conviction. He joined workshops, volunteered for events. And one day, during a campus talk, he stood up and shared his story for the first time. He ended it with just one sentence. "Pain is not a wall, it's a window. You just need the courage to look through it." That clip went viral on social media. Messages poured in from students, teachers, even people in other countries. They said his words gave them strength. That night, Adil opened a new YouTube channel. He named it Unbroken. He began uploading short videos, motivational stories, thoughts from his journey, interviews with those who had overcome struggles. No fancy editing, just truth. And people listened. Within 1 year, Adil crossed 500,000 subscribers. But he never stopped studying. He knew his mission wasn't to become famous. His mission was to become useful. He finished his degree with top honors. Today, Adil is a civil servant. He works in education reform, making sure that students in small towns have access to books, scholarships, and mentors. He funds libraries in rural schools. He speaks regularly at underfunded colleges, and he still uploads on Unbroken every Sunday. Sometimes, he walks past that same tea stall from years ago. The vendor is older now, grayer. Adil stops, smiles, and hands him a cup of tea. The man laughs. From my hands to yours, eh? Adil nods. That one cup changed everything. Because sometimes it isn't the giant moments that transform lives. Sometimes it's a sentence, a stranger, a choice, and a decision to keep going, even when the world gives you every reason not to. Adil still wakes at 4:30, still writes in his notebook, still whispers to himself, I was born to break through, not to break down. He doesn't call himself successful. He calls himself committed, because success fades. But commitment, that echoes that Adil's life didn't magically transform after his degree. In fact, after graduation, there was a long stretch of silence. No job offers, no interviews, no calls. He would wake up early, dress up in his iron shirt, and go out with printed resumes, handing them out to anyone who would listen. Some smiled politely, some dismissed him. He walked the streets of the city for weeks. One day, he sat in a park, resume folder in hand, defeated. That's when a little boy, maybe 7 years old, came up to him with a half-eaten samosa and offered him the rest. Adil looked at the boy's face, dirt on his cheeks, barefoot, big eyes. Why? He asked. The boy said, because you look hungry. And for some reason, Adil laughed, not because it was funny, but because a part of him broke and healed at the same time. That moment reminded him of who he was. Someone who once studied through hunger. Someone who once believed that rock bottom was the start of greatness. He stood up, brushed the dust off his trousers, and said to himself, maybe I'm not waiting for an opportunity. Maybe I have to create one. That night, he opened his YouTube channel again. He uploaded a new video titled, No One's Coming to Save You, So Save Yourself. The video was raw. Just him, sitting on the floor of a one-room apartment, talking to the camera with honesty that shook even him. He didn't plan it. He didn't write it. He just spoke. The video hit 1 million views in a week. People didn't just relate. They felt it. And the messages came pouring in. A single mother in Bangladesh, a dropout in Bihar, a bullied teen in Karachi, all writing to say, you said what I've been afraid to say out loud. The comments section became a community, a place where people lifted each other up. Adil started responding to them one by one. Then he began doing weekly live streams, free Q&As, career advice, mental health conversations, study tips. One night, during a live stream, a girl named Hina typed, I was going to give up tonight, but now I'll give life another try. Thank you. Adil paused, blinked rapidly, and read the comment out loud. His voice cracked as he whispered, you don't owe me anything, Hina. Just promise me you'll stay. That clip was saved by thousands. Suddenly, he wasn't just a voice on the internet. He became a symbol of persistence. But he didn't let that change him. He refused brand deals that didn't align with his message. He turned down television interviews that wanted to dramatize his story. He kept his channel clean, real, focused. Then one day, he received a letter in the mail, an invitation from the Ministry of Education to speak at the National Youth Empowerment Summit. He had never been in a 5-star hotel, never worn a full suit. But when he walked on that stage and saw hundreds of young people in the audience, he didn't feel fear. He felt fire. He began, I am not standing here as someone who had a plan. I'm standing here as someone who kept showing up, even when the door never opened, until one day I built my own door. He shared stories of sleeping on floors, failing exams, being ignored. But he also shared the moment that changed it all, the boy with the half-eaten samosa. Sometimes, We wait for someone to believe in us, but all we need is to believe that we are worth betting on. The audience stood and clapped for minutes. But for Adil, the loudest applause was a quiet one. The look in the eyes of a boy sitting in the back row, wiping his tears silently. That was who Adil spoke for. The invisible ones. With the small government grant he received after the summit, Adil opened a local resource center. It wasn't big. Just 2 rooms, a few benches, a whiteboard, and a used projector. But he named it the Start Line, because he believed everyone deserves a starting point. Young people from all over the district began visiting. Some came with dreams. Others came just to feel less alone. He gave them space to speak, fail, grow. He brought in mentors, taught them soft skills, public speaking, digital literacy. He even printed a poster and taped it on the entrance door. You don't have to be perfect to begin. You just have to begin. Years passed. The Unbroken channel grew past 2 million subscribers. He had job offers, international invites, honorary awards. But every Sunday, without fail, Adil still uploaded a video. And every month, he visited his old neighborhood, sat at the same bench outside the tea stall, and drank a cup quietly. The vendor, now with shaky hands and cloudy eyes, always smiled. "Still fighting, Beta?" Adil would reply, "Always." And every time someone asks him, "What was your secret?" he answers with a smile, "I just refuse to stop."